Welcome to Hiring Happy Hour, where we celebrate the human side of hiring. I'm your host, Nicole Hammond, and together we'll pull back the curtain on people shaping the future of work, the innovators, the dreamers, the change makers behind today's hiring experience. These are the real stories behind the dashboards, from leaders transforming talent acquisition to the everyday moments that remind us why we love hiring in the first place, to connect people with purpose. Hiring Happy Hour is brought to you by SmartRecruiters, an SAP company, the AI-powered software for superhuman hiring, helping organizations hire faster, smarter, and more human. All right, everybody, very excited today as this is a special guest, a very, very special guest. Our first Smartian. But not only that, he could be the most interesting man in the world, only because of his background. He is a unique enterprise solutions architect in HR tech who blends software, project management, talent systems expertise to drive large-scale digital transformation. I think he has that on a t-shirt. Previously, he led operations and excellence at Green King. For those of you in the UK and EMEA, you've probably heard of him, where he built and managed HR technology, analytics, and process teams while shaping the company's full HR tech strategy, ATS optimization, and talent analytics function. And now he has built enterprise-scale digital platforms beyond and HR systems, pairing technical expertise with a strong focus on employee and candidate experience as the core driver of process improvement. Today, he is our amazing enterprise solution architect here at SmartRecruiters. Please join me in welcoming the wonderful Chris Bailey. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Nicole. Hi.
It's like we're in a football arena and you hear the entire place cheering for you, especially your son.
Yeah. Oh, my rubbish.
When they approached me about hosting this show, we talked through people to have on the show. And I will tell you, you were my first Smartian that I recommended. Reason being, I just love what you're doing, but also where you've come from. So today I'm hoping we can share with our listeners, with our viewers, a little bit more about the most interesting man at SmartRecruiters.
Definitely. And I feel really honored because there are some amazing Smartians. So to be considered kind of that high on that list is an honor in its own right. So thank you.
Yes. Okay. So we are going to jump right into it. And we are going to learn about all the amazing things that you've done in the hiring and HR space. So Chris, please tell me, if you had to choose, what would be your hiring happy hour?
Honestly, I'm going to pick two. And
Okay.
Really, and I want to pick two. And that's only because I kind of want to do kind of both kind of justice. And I'm going to talk around kind of organizations where I've worked kind of within kind of 5-6 years. So I'm thinking Ocado comes front and center. So Ocado are a big brand in the UK, and they are a online, like supermarket, grocery, online fulfillment organization. But they are now actually larger than just the UK. They are kind of almost kind of global in terms of their offering and the solution that they offer. So you've probably heard of Kroger in the US. They actually manage and handle all of their customer fulfillments through their grocery delivery and global.
Wow. Okay.
So, and that's part of their kind of tech stack. Well, less about that. When I kind of moved into Ocado and I joined there in almost like a center of excellence type of role. And when I joined, it was very fragmented. So they had a very fragmented tech stack. So Ocado, when I joined, were less than 20 years old as an organization and very kind of tech rich in terms of their kind of forward thinkingness, certainly with kind of how they approach that kind of last mile delivery with the customer. HR, like most organizations like that, is somewhat left behind, but because they had that fragmented HR tech stack, they actually had 3 separate recruitment teams, 3 ATS solutions, calendar, screen, and performance. So you can, when I say fragmented, you can really see that.
Yes, when we hear that, we're like, oh my goodness, let's figure out consolidation, centralization. Okay, keep going.
So very decentralized process in kind of operating model, but centralized process in kind of every other kind of model, with that kind of IT engineering, which actually was probably about 50% of their recruitment at the time. So I was brought in to look at their operational functions to be able to to be able to kind of piece together what could be like a centralized kind of recruitment process. I, after about 3 months, I've kind of worked with an amazing manager. I want to give a shout out to managing the events. She really kind of pushed me to kind of always be the best version of myself, and really kind of challenged me in terms of making sure that we partner with the organization. And that's kind of what we did. So it took a lot of working with like resource planning, working with their operational teams, their centralized and decentralized style of recruitment functions, to really kind of get under the skin and drip away those kind of fragmented layers, and to understand kind of, okay, what are the end goals in terms of what they need to achieve from a recruitment perspective. But the operation was all about kind of throughput. So it was all about kind of how we can achieve that kind of last mile delivery to the customer, and what resource is required to do that. So what we started doing then is really kind of unpicking the technology that we had. We knew for a fact that through ATS solutions is not the way forward, and we need to get onto one solution. As well, at the same time as that, they were also looking at a new HR solution, because they had an inbuilt HR solution. So custom can't grow with that, can't evolve. One of their recruitment ATS solutions was also a kind of custom in-house developed solution. So we kind of knew that, that ruled out immediately for obvious reasons. From a HCM perspective, they were looking at that first, because they did want to look at a kind of single suite solution whilst they were there. So they didn't want to do that. And then when they were looking to first thing, Workday went out. So it was Workday as the kind of that kind of single suite solution from a HR stack. What was very quickly established when we were looking at the centralized versus kind of decentralized process is that one system can't do everything for them. Then layers of recruitment from a head office engineering IT versus hands-on kind of operational, kind of thinking delivery drivers, warehouse operatives. You're talking about 20 to 30,000 kind of hires per year across the organization. One system couldn't do that because the processes weren't supported. What we did do though is we did find a single solution that would do that, but from an integrated solution, so a single recruitment solution. And then what we did is we got the three recruitment teams to kind of work together. And instead of allowing the resource planning to really kind of factor in what the recruitment needs were based on operational forecasts, we were able to then work with and lead resource planning to actually look at the recruitment KPIs for the forecasts. So after implementing the decision, fast forwarding an awful lot here, but after implementing the solution, we were looking at kind of 6-figure savings just from the efficiency alone. And then the tech stack that we put in from a recruitment perspective, the ROI was achieved last 3 years. So
Wow.
I appreciate there's a lot that's happened in between there. And the reason I've kind of fast forwarded is I do want to talk about the second piece as well. And it kind of moves on to that in terms of we'll come back to the other bits as well, but from an Ocado point of view. It was when we were then looking at that centralized versus decentralized, what the bigger aspect that we found in terms of how we achieve those efficiencies was sometimes the opposite of what organizations are doing to achieve that is by bringing some of it centralized. So we were kind of bucking a trend. Every organization that we were working with, so competitors at the time, would think of like Marks and Spencer's, think of like Tesco in terms of like customer fulfillment, Amazon as well. They were all going down a decentralized route and implementing technology to have a decentralized recruitment model at the time. And that's where they were going to achieve savings and not have these kind of large core centralized teams. What we did with the technology is we pioneered that kind of technology to enable a centralized solution, but without a centralized team of 30 to 40 people to achieve 20 to 30,000 hires. It was a team of like 5 or 6 that was achieving that many. Almost
Wow.
a hybrid centralized solution where you would still get that kind of that hiring manager decentralized touch point, but with a full centralized support.
Okay. So that's a lot to unpack, but I think that you, and the shout out to your manager, should be very proud because one, she sounds like Ted Lasso and you are the best version of yourself. But two, doing decentralized to centralize is not an easy feat. You can attest to that. In addition, it is not the norm or the trend at the time. So not only are you doing, and I don't want to devalue, but basic change management, right? People, process, technology, evaluating current state, future state. Where can we, find a system that meets 80% of our needs and truly put that in, starting with suite first, workday, fine and dandy, and then integrating accordingly. But I think the piece I really want to touch on is something for our listeners that they may be afraid to take that step, to go against the grain when it comes to doing something differently. Through that period of all that ROI that you achieved, how did you gain the trust of the organization to trust you to make a decision that we would call going upstream? But then what milestones or proof points did you give them to keep them, invested, advocating for doing things a little differently?
That's a really good question. And at first, I can honestly say we had to challenge the operation. We had to challenge them in terms of that change. So at Accardi, it was everything was operational led.
Hmm.
So I had HR. It wasn't a case of having to bring HR or the recruitment teams on board. That they were not resistant to change. Absolutely far from it. They were embracing the change and probably would have embraced anything at that point because it was so fragmented and so kind of decentralized.
I'm sure.
The operation, though, had control over this process because it's pretty centralized. And when you are then talking to an organization around that change, and then okay, we're going to remove some of that control from you, and we're going to kind of bring it in here. But in doing so, we're going to achieve all of these different efficiencies. At that time, it's just numbers on paper.
Yeah.
It's not all that meaningful for them. So there was an awful lot of challenge, and with some, there was some friction, professional friction, but there certainly was. What we were able to do though is very quickly kind of partner with some key stakeholders, and then partner with the operation and the organization to really kind of show and showcase how we're trying to move forward as a business, how the business is growing, and if we don't evolve not just the tech stack but the ways of working, then we're never going to be able to achieve the efficiency that you need. You are constantly going to be going through resource planning, looking at your operational needs based on how many orders you've got to fulfill. And that's what we're going to do. So you're never, ever going to change. So unless we look at how we can improve and then change on looking at the recruitment KPIs and be able to bring it in as a centralized, so that you've got the professional aspect within that organization owning what they should be owning, you're never, ever going to be able to achieve efficiency. Well, they can on board.
Yeah. And this is key. I hear two things, and I think they are very powerful. And again, sometimes not the norm. First and foremost, find the doers in the company, right? Find who is going to be your linchpin to help you achieve this. Work side by side. It's almost like selling the value to them of what's in it for me, right? And then work with them. Then to your point, find the other stakeholders. So it's almost like stakeholder engagement at different levels, right? You have that core one that you are just working side by side. We're going to save you time. We're going to save you money. We're going to make your life easier. And then you have that group of stakeholders around the business to kind of expand that model. But the second piece is my favorite because I think people are afraid to talk about this. What happens if you don't do this, right? You and I both know in today's world, we talk about an ROI calculator. It's like, oh, time savings, depending on who you're talking to, CEO, CFO, you give these, metrics. But I think my favorite is if you don't do this, giving the proof points of the financial burden you will have if you get left behind. So real quick, I know we want to switch to the other favorite, and I do too. But what were some of those metrics that truly resonated with those stakeholders of if you don't invest in this and get on board, you are going to X?
For the operation, it was all based on their kind of headcount planning. So
Hmm.
all of their headcount planning was just based on numbers. It was just purely based on often churn. So you brought like the business has brought in 30 this week, and we know we're going to lose 25, and well, you don't know that
Yeah.
because it's just based on how many orders a customer is going to fulfill in a given week, and it's based on kind of forecasting on previous orders to know what you're going to have. And that's where, from an organization, they were very tech rich. So they had some fantastic systems that were able to forecast and predict the level of throughput and customer orders and fulfillment that was required on a daily and weekly basis. And they were
Okay.
very, very accurate with that. When they knew what that headcount needed to be to achieve that. And often it was all about a ramp up to kind of seasonal holidays, Christmas being the biggest World Country marks. But it was all based on that trend of, we know we're going to lose this many, or we know the recruitment's like this. Like the recruiters, well, actually, no. If we stop, we can fix it here at the start before actually factoring what happens at the end. As soon as we fix what happens at the start, all of a sudden that scale, as opposed to just going up, down each week, you can actually just have a sliding line. And then all of a sudden the effort that needs to be put in at the start can actually go lower. So then all of a sudden straight away, you're going to achieve the efficiencies because you've got time saved here and time saved at the start and also time saved at the end.
Well, kudos to you because that is quite an achievement. We work with many organizations that have that conundrum of decentralization and the debate to go centralize, but they feel it's more of a burden than it's worth. I think today you've kind of made that a misnomer, and it's totally a possible if you're the best version of yourself, plus the most interesting man in the world, plus you have your advocates. All right, let's switch to your favorite number two.
Favorite number two is probably my actual favorite. It's probably favorite number one, but I kept it to the end. And that was my time at Green King, which was the position that I held just before I became a Smartian. When I joined Green King, it was a million miles away from where I previously worked at Ocado. Very old tech stack, very kind of outdated internal tech systems. No way, didn't even have a way of collaborating with teams. No SharePoint, no Teams, no Slack, no Google Meet, nothing. It was email. It was email and carrier pigeon. Yeah. Well, sometimes the carrier pigeon could get there before the email as well. So it was like, no, it isn't like that now. So Green King are a UK only company, but a very, very old UK only company. Like I'm talking, 200 years old, or almost. Like I can't remember the exact dates. It may be older than that. I really can't. But Google it. They are started in a place called Bury St Edmunds, and they started as a brewery, brewing their own kind of ale and beer, and they still do that today. But now they are known more of a hospitality company throughout the UK. So like over 3,000 establishments throughout the UK, the banana country. But when I joined, they had as I said, very old tech stack. No, as I mentioned, no kind of real way of kind of collaborating with teams, but they had a matrix recruitment model. Best way to describe it is a matrix recruitment model, which meant that they had teams in silo across an organization in a single country, all recruiting for the same type of skill set, all in different teams, almost kind of brand led. So Green King has got 14, 15 kind of unique brands, kind of hard brands. And it was all kind of brand led recruitment. And maybe some of it was kind of regional, so like urban, kind of bigger city recruitment, but it was all the same skills. So they're all kind of fishing the same pool really in terms of that skill set that they want. Now, Lindsay Stone, who is still at Green King, she was my manager there. She was kind of like head of TA. I can't remember her exact title, but again, very kind of instrumental in shaping the operating model. Somebody that I still stay in contact with today. I absolutely loved working with, and she was
Another kudos.
a massive kudos to her. Again, another person that really kind of pushes you to just be the best version of yourself.
Love it.
And
Love it.
Lindsay's very good at surrounding herself with people in the room that are the experts. She doesn't need to be the smartest person in the room because she doesn't need to be. She surrounds herself with. But Lindsay is very, very smart and everything like that. She really, really is.
She sounds smart.
What I was getting back to, so in terms of that, so she was there to really kind of shape the operating model, come away from that kind of matrix recruitment, and have it where she was kind of more strategically aligned to the point that then it eventually kind of transpired in terms of what she was trying to achieve, was that it would all fall under her from a TA view. Again, I was in that kind of center of excellence for a role. So my task and what I was actually recruited and brought on board for was to solution a tech stack that would support that model. So again, all within kind of that, so wider HR, so not just TA, so TA and kind of HR. Now, when I first joined, I'm trying to think, February time, and I've been having conversations with Lindsay during kind of my notice period, because they were going through a kind of that initial qualifying process of vendors, providers. And so she was keeping up to date with that, sharing kind of insights in terms of what they've done. Very, very kind of early stages, almost kind of long list down to short list, that type of process. But what was happening, and when I joined, it was like, right, we need to move very quickly now. The decision of the organization when I joined at Green King was, we've got a really new HR system, so we need a new HCM. But it feels like TA and recruitment, there's a burning need for recruitment to go first. Can you go and validate that, please? So we did that. We validated. We did various different bits within the organization, looking at from a technology point of view. It was like purely from a technology point of view. And it was quite clear and quite abundant straight away in terms of the system that they had in place that we just couldn't do anything. I was given a list of kind of quick wins that we could achieve with the existing system that was in place. Honestly, if there was 20 on that list, we may have achieved 3. And that was pure the fragmented kind of configuration of that system.
Okay.
Look, it is true. There is a burning need. TA needs to go first because, again, we can't support the growth that's needed. So then what happened is we go out and do this kind of robust process of kind of scoring, meeting on all the providers. And this providers were a list of HCM providers and standalone kind of best-in-class TA. Because the business was we are going full stop single suite. That is what is happening. The business, that is the border. We are going single suite. Let's go and find one.
A lot of people do that, right? They do one single suite because it saves money. I'm doing quotations if you're listening.
Not totally. But TA needs to go first. So let's ask every HCM provider, can you implement your TA module first? Of course, not a single one can. Core HR needs to go first before they can do TA. So, okay, an interim solution was then born out of that. And the interim solution of SmartRecruiters was born out of that process. Now, SmartRecruiters was one of the kind of best-in-class TAs that were part of that vendor, and they came out on top. Easy to say.
I mean, we're happy about that, right?
Listen, I'm very happy about that because I wouldn't get that. They didn't. So fantastic. So what my job then was to kind of gather all the requirements, both functional and technical, within kind of Green King, and then lead on the implementation project, both with the OT teams and with the functional teams. This is the SmartRecruiters kind of implementation. And it was always going to be a kind of an island, an MVP, minimum viable product, because it was an interim solution. We're not going to connect it, no integration to HR system, because that's going away. As part of the qualifying process, when we were speaking to all the HMs and kind of the TA suites, we were able to pick SmartRecruiters as TA and Workday as TA. We're like, great, we've picked them, absolutely fantastic. But Workday is saying we've got to do 2 years worth of work before you can get the Workday recruiting. So you can go and have SmartRecruiters for 2 years. That's what the business said. So that's what we did. October was around about the project start. Following May was kind of go live. And when you think Green King Hospitality, there's a big lockdown and a shutdown over Christmas. You can't switch operators. You can't do it. But you would, realistically, you were talking probably about 5-month implementation for an organization of 40,000 employees of 15 different brands, which was great. So it was, we were on track and we achieved what we needed to do.
I just want to repeat that, Chris. 40,000, 15 brands, and 6-month timeline versus the 2 years that Workday Recruit gave you.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, Workday Recruit was 2 years because they had to implement core HR.
Fair enough.
Green King said, we've got to have payroll in place by this date. So it was kind of dictated by both. So a little bit of kind of caveats there.
Which I've implemented Workday, and payroll is the number one thing you need to have, right? We need to pay our employees.
Yes. So that was more important. Paying employees as opposed to recruiting new ones was important.
Fair enough.
I can understand why. Thanks. Well, you're always for that. So fast forwarding kind of 6 months. SmartRecruiters has been in place now for 6 months. We've gone forward a year. Workday have gone through their whole kind of scoping, gathering functional technical requirements for their core HR and their kind of payroll solutions. Next on the list was recruitment. So it was okay, right, recruitment's in scope. We're moving into, so let's start gathering these requirements. It was very early to see that there was a huge kind of gap in functional requirements between what the business has adopted 6 months of used as a minimal viable product. So like SmartRecruiters wasn't operating at full functionality at this point. It wasn't. There was kind of aspects and elements to that weren't probably being used to its full entirety. What my job now was to complete both a functional and a technical gap analysis,
Hmm.
and then present the findings initially to kind of our HR leadership team and kind of factual findings. So we were looking then at not only kind of the functional aspects that you would lose both from a recruitment and from an operator perspective, but are there any technical limitations? By technical limitations, we were then looking at things like SmartRecruiters plugins, the marketplace, CRM, attracts from a career side perspective, and kind of those efficiencies in terms of what that landscape would look like. You always get, within a non-technical environment, you always get somebody that will come up and say, well, look, our HR architecture will go from one system to two if we have marketers. No, it doesn't. Never, ever, ever is it one system or two, because if we have work, then you've still got your single sign-on solution. You've then still got an integrated middleware out to whatever kind of background checking providers that are part of the place. You've then got some kind of push out into kind of job boards. You've then got to push out into your career site. So so when you then articulate to say, well, instead of thinking of it as 1 versus 2, it's probably 5 versus 6. So all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't realize if we had Workday, we'd still have another 4 systems and solutions to be able to support that. So the argument then actually kind of waters down a little bit. So when we do that, we then that kind of gap analysis is there, and we're presenting that. What we noticed from a tech stack point of view was a cost efficiency. So we could kind of immediately align in terms of, okay, it would cost X to keep SmartRecruiters in what we've got today versus Y if we move over to kind of to Workday. And they were kind of stacking, they weren't a million miles kind of away from each other. So I was like, okay, so yes, one is not a fat lot, but again, from an efficiencies, from a functional efficiencies, one was massively weighing out the other. So we presented that then at board level, which I had to do to be able to be signed off kind of SmartRecruiters. They then dug a lot deeper into the operational efficiencies and said, can you come back and can you really articulate actually how much time it takes to do this versus this? Okay, what financial gains are you guys? Should we then went back? And there was probably about 2 or 3 rounds of kind of going through this, because they were like thinking, okay, actually there's something to be had here. And I was brilliant. I immediately thought, do you know what? It's never going to work. They're just asking for more and more and more. Are they doing this to just validate Workday themselves? Is that what they're trying to do? And I was then very, very kind of reassured, said, no, they're not. So this is happening because they're actually taking you seriously, thinking
That's great.
SmartRecruiters is probably the solution that we need kind of internally. And maybe some of us around the room were kind of wrongly thinking that full suite is the way forward. And in doing that happened. What we then achieved, and what we did show as well, was from an operating model, in the first 6 months alone of just SmartRecruiters. So you're thinking kind of the core central, that matrix team that then became a fully functional single team. There was cost savings there already in the 6 figures. So it was like £350,000 just in 6.
Wow.
So that was
And
from
that's
an
the functional
operating,
only, right? You hadn't even connected.
so functional only. And
Wow.
as we could prove that, we actually had tangible data that showed that this
Awesome.
wasn't forecasted savings. This was proven savings in 6 months. So then when we show that, long story short, is SmartRecruiters was then signed off, and that was signed off as the recruitment platform alongside Workday as kind of the core kind of HR, HCM, payroll, and everything else. So I then immediately was like, right, thanks, Chris. Your job now changes. So on the Workday project as an SA and integrations lead.
Congratulations. You gave yourself more work, Chris.
I was like, really? What do I do with the job? Yeah. What do I do with the data? You keep doing that one as well. All right. So, and that was around like the operational efficiencies and excellence within the system and continuous improvement.
You're the expert.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And they were long days. They were fantastic, and I absolutely loved them. I then worked on the integration and built and worked with our partners at SmartRecruiters on building that kind of integration into Workday. And then I left Green King and joined SmartRecruiters after that project was completed in December 2024, and haven't looked back since. So I'm back since. Yeah, I'm here now.
Love it. Lots to unpack because I think that this is a common topic, right? Not only suite versus best of breed, but the cost savings. There is this huge misnomer in the world that less systems will save you money.
Mhm.
And one, to your point, less systems isn't always the case, right? Suites try to sell all you need is them. And for some individuals, that may be true. But the reality is, to your point, today's world is made up of experts, best of breeds in many different areas: job boards, background assessments, career sites, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the reality is you really need to look at your tech stack and strategize around what you need versus want and what works effectively together. I think that when you told me this the first time, not only did I love your honest assessment, because I mean, even today, saying, right, like from a cost perspective, it wasn't far off, but
Mhm.
just the reality of continuously doing what's best for the organization. As you shared out how much saving with functional alone, then I imagine the technical implementation was probably a shorter timeline than you would expect from a workday, et cetera. And then the optimization, right? I think a lot of people forget about continuous optimization. We hear from a number of organizations that go with an Avature or a Workday that they just become stagnant in whatever
Yeah.
they built originally. And the beauty of SmartRecruiters, and yes, I'm totally plugging it, is the continuous optimization, the open APIs, the self-development, right?
Yeah, completely. And those are the conversations that I love having today. So like in my job now, and it's some of those conversations that even and that surprises me even today, amazes some of our kind of customers and prospects that we speak to say, oh, I actually have the keys to my own smart recruiters instance. Well, I said, yes. I said, you are your own system administrator. You manage your own continuous improvement to your own release and your own change management cycles within your own organization. We don't need to do that for you. No, we
Yes.
can't if you don't have the capacity internally. We've got that model to support you. No, you don't need us to do that. And
Yeah.
that was one of the biggest kind of selling points around Smart Recruiters at Green King and why it was so widely adopted. They'd gone from a system that they couldn't change. I had a list of 20, I mentioned 20 quick wins with their existing system, which was Cornerstone. There weren't nothing wrong with Cornerstone at all, though. But it was how it was configured,
Sure.
and it was almost what they'd created was like a cottage cheese mess of kind of, if I change something over here, it impacts these three matrix teams over here. And I don't want it to do that. But and it was just so much watch. We could not unpick it to the point that the vendor then was like, "Oh, we can't really support you either because we're not quite sure the mess that you've made yourself." So we just couldn't do it. And then all of a sudden, we go to a smart recruiters whose technology isn't built that way. It's almost impossible to be able to kind of replicate what we had to then recruitment teams and operational teams saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be good if we could do this?"
Even now, seeing it in the world of being part of a suite with SAP Success Factors, there are so many people that are excited because I think the future is continuously being able to keep up, right? Like if I were to put a theme on the successful technology companies that are going to do well in the future, it's they can keep up and they are ahead of the curve with innovation. And these larger suites are going to have a hard time because they are so large to go through a pain of change to get to that point in some stakeholders' minds may not be worth it. But on the other side, I think a nimble organization that's small but mighty, but has always had that habit of innovating and going through that change. I won't call it pain because it's natural and
Yeah,
we know this, right? Build a plane while doing it. But it helps to continuously optimize and not make yourself outdated.
and sometimes certainly and what we definitely found with that the kind of the kind of the suites is that from a TA aspect, and often it's the modules, it's something that the releases within TA, they're wedded to the whole kind of
Yeah,
HCM or core kind of
sure,
release schedules.
sure.
It might be quarterly, it might be annually, it might be kind of every half. Recruitment moves too fast for that. Like I said, and it does. You want kind of monthly release cycles and monthly kind of updates, and efficiency kind of updates and kind of add up, because that's how quickly the market changes.
Yes, yes, and to keep up with competition and
Yeah.
get the best quality candidates and hires, this is what you need to do. So, Chris, thank you. We could talk about this for hours. This is my favorite topic of sweet versus best of breed, but also everything that comes with it. Having your technical mind and speaking to that side of this, I think really brings a breath of fresh air. Last piece on this, you presented to the CEO and the board. That is a big deal. One, give yourself a pat on the back because I think you
Yeah.
minimize how amazing that is that you were so passionate and they saw that to the point that you told us, right? Are they questioning this just to do their due diligence and they're going to go with Workday from a political perspective, or do they really care? And you influenced that because you cared so much. So just kudos to you and thank you. You should be very proud of yourself for that.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I am. Actually, yes.
Good, good. All right, we are going to switch gears. Although, you and I can talk about this more forever and ever and ever over beers, right? Hiring happy hour. But we're going to switch to learn more about you and what brings you bliss or makes you smile outside of work, right? So share with me more. Share with me more about what does that happy hour look like for you outside of work?
So I'm going to continue with the theme of two things because that's just me. But no, there are two things that I really like to. I would say what brings me bliss is what I use to unwind, and that's going to the gym. So I'm not somebody that can go to the gym in the morning. I'm not. I go to the gym after work, and occasionally I'll go in the morning if I know I can't fit it.
You're not 4:30 like me?
No, no, oh, what? There is only one 4:30 in the day, and it is not 4:30 a.m.
Fair enough.
No.
Fair enough.
The only time I see 4:30 a.m. is when I didn't go to bed.
Okay. Fair enough.
So yeah, so am I. So I am not somebody for the gym in the morning, but I guess do 5 days a week.
Good for you.
I,
I love
I
that.
live and kind of breathe going to that. And when I don't go, I'm restless. So and it does bring me bliss, and it helps me unwind. So the reason I like to go at the end of the day, regardless of what time that is, it could be kind of 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, whenever that is, whenever the end of my kind of working day is, it helps me unwind. It
Mhm.
helps me think about the things that I might still need to do tomorrow or go
Yep.
back. And there's a number of different things. And it really, really works for me because then I can come back and then I can switch off. And I think it's very much the working from home. I step out of my office and then I walk through a room and I'm in the kitchen. I'm in another room. So it's just like there's no separation. That kind of give from that separation is in my days over. The second part of what brings me bliss is coaching my son's football team or soccer team for those near us, and I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. So my son he is 11, so he's 12 this year, mate.
Wow.
So it's under 12s football team, and I absolutely love it. It brings me so much joy to work with 12 kind of young lads and just to see them nurture, to spend time with them and you wouldn't be like this. So I am like I'm a completely, I said a different person. I'm probably not actually. I probably bring what I do in work, I bring in my football coaching as well. Because I have books, I have apps, I kind of literally record all the training drills that I do. I've got a spreadsheet of kind of how many games that they've done and how many played, how many goals. So I am very kind of articulate like that with that. So I make sure if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it 110%.
Thoughtful, best version of yourself. Love
Yeah,
it.
I will never do 90% of anything. It's 110% or nothing. So I'm exactly the same. To the point that I think that sometimes I might be a little bit above my station and I need to remind myself, I am on a kids football team. I'm not actually coaching a Premier League football team. Yeah, sometimes I'd like to think that I might get there one day.
We'll have to figure out what the pay is for a premier coach versus SmartRecruiters, right? I mean, I love this, of course, passion, soccer, football, and exercise as that mental just decompression. I think there's a lot of people out there that can attest to something similar. Tell me, what is your favorite slogan, words of encouragement for your son and his team, whether it's going into a game, going into a practice, after practice?
Oh wow. Okay. The one thing that I do say an awful lot is don't get dragged into the opposition's way of playing. And I say it a lot. And I say that because I really kind of promote our team to, and our football team it's a bit of a cliche, to play proper football. So to come
Mhm.
into it's a team and to enjoy it. And by that we've been together a while now. So it's all about kind of, we like to play quite stylish football. We like to think that we're quite a good team, and we are. But of course, there's some oppositions that you come against, especially now they've kind of reached high school and kind of hormones are kicking in at that age. And I just make sure that I always say to them, don't get dragged into the opposition's way of playing football. Let's play our football. And I will always say that every single day.
Yep. I love that. I love that. Ted Lasso, 110%, play your own game, all those motivating things. All right. We are going to switch gears to a game called This or That. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to go through a few. I have some tech-related ones, so we're mixing it up this time. But yep, choose your favorite adventure, and then we'll go from there. All right. Resume or LinkedIn profile?
LinkedIn profile.
Okay. AI or no AI? Okay. Find me or find you?
Find me.
Okay. Internal mobility or external best athlete hire?
Internal mobility.
Okay. Reward or recognition?
Recognition.
Good manager or fun job?
Good manager.
Centralized TA or embedded recruiters?
Ooh. Both work if done right.
I love it. Okay. Tech related, buy or build?
Yeah, bye.
Yes. I wanted to hit on this when we talked about they had their homegrown systems.
Yeah.
Just saying it to say it. We all know we live in a world that's going too fast. As we said, keep up. And having your own homegrown, the investment in keeping it up to date, virtually impossible, right?
Let somebody else build it that's got balls, please.
Okay. Pilot with one region or global rollout day one?
Global rollout, having done both.
Ooh. Bold, big bang. All right.
Yeah.
Global consistency or local flexibility?
80% global consistency with some nuance for 20% flexibility.
Took the words right out of my mouth. 80-20.
With some, yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. No one asked me these questions, but I'm with you. Okay. Text updates or email updates?
Next.
All right. And the last one, beer or wine?
Beer.
All right. And do you have your beer?
I didn't even have got beer.
Look, I have to show you.
One,
Look at these fun little glasses we got.
Green King beer.
And you've got your Green King. And I will tell anyone that is in the UK, I went to my first Green King pub. What'd you tell me? The Gloucester?
The Gloucester.
Gloucester. Yep.
I think that was the one that you went to, was the Gloucester, because that was the one that Harrods.
It was incredible. Incredible. I mean, light years above a pub you would find in the US. So Green King, you're doing amazing things over there. And your beer is mighty tasty. So tell people, Chris, where they can find you, get a hold of you, learn more about the most interesting man in the world, best version of himself.
So right now you can get hold of me at SmartRecruiters, but you can also you can reach me on LinkedIn. You can I'm easy to be found. I don't hide away in kind of any corners. But yes, just if anybody wants to reach out, if anybody wants to have any kind of conversation or chat over, if you're in the UK or anywhere, over at a Green King pub over a beer, then reach out to me. I like coffee as well, so you'll find me in most establishments.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you. This has been so special. And I've learned. I hope listeners and watchers out there have learned something, whether it's around how to navigate decentralization versus centralization, whether it's around suite versus best of breed, whether it's around our favorite topic of change management or Ted Lasso and being the best version of yourself. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with us. And we're going to cheers, Chris. You're my first cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
And that wraps another episode of Hiring Happy Hour. Thanks for tuning in and for believing, like we do, that hiring isn't just about filling jobs, it's about the impact we make. To catch more stories and show notes, visit hiringhappyhour.com. This episode was brought to you by SmartRecruiters, an SAP company, an AI-powered platform for superhuman hiring. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep humanizing hiring. Cheers!